Hello and welcome to the I Am Woman project, where every week we have deep, thought-provoking and interesting conversations with thought leaders, change instigators, rule breakers and creative minds who think differently, sparking creativity and inspiration. Our special guests on our show cover a variety of topics just for you, and they share their personal stories to inspire, motivate and empower you, our listener. The I Am Woman podcast is produced for your enjoyment, and show notes are found at www.catherineplano.com. Come back often and feel free to add the podcast to your favourite RSS feed or iTunes. All links are in the show notes. Now let's get into the show. Today we have Alli Price, the founder of Motivating Mum, helping mums achieve their business dreams for 11 years and counting. After working in hotels as a production manager, making commercials for Target, Alli became so tired of working for big companies and having to pretend like she really cared about making them more money. It was at this time that she realised that she really wanted to help people and decided to train as a life coach and have her own coaching practice. Alli graduated from her course at the same time as having her first daughter, and after experiencing all the challenges of being a new mum and running a new business, she knew then it was mums she wanted to help, and so Motivating Mum was launched. Alli has inspired and educated thousands of mums through the provision of mentoring in all areas of the business, affordable business services including social media, management, retail contact service, press releases, and plenty of online help. With the help of her associates, Alli also runs friendly and welcoming business mum clubs in many locations around Australia, providing a safe and supportive place for mums to work on their business whilst bringing their children. And if that isn't enough, she also runs the annual Brilliant Biz Mum Awards and Conference, celebrating and educating these wonderful women, and 2 charity events, Mummy Mentoring Festival and Mother Jumpers, where there is mums jumping out of planes for charity. Alli loves playing the drums and dancing her booty off at every opportunity. So let's shake it for Alli and get into the groove of this interview. Enjoy. So today we have the lovely Alli Price. Welcome to I Am Woman Project. How are you today?
Really good, thank you. I should clarify though, I do have a ongoing 3.5-week cold, so I probably sound a bit blocked up and a bit huskier, and I'll probably have a coughing fit halfway through. But other than that, very good, thank you.
Thank you. I love the way that you set the scene. I wish I had set the scene last week when that happened to me. I had the most massive coughing fit, and it was uncontrollable. And these things happen.
Well, I was like, be prepped, people.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So for our listeners who don't know who Alli Price is, let's unpack Alli Price and tell us what you do.
Unpack me, I love it. So basically what I do is I provide a safe and supportive place for mums to achieve their business dreams. And I do that through business mums clubs, mentoring, providing affordable business services, and also running a few sort of major events during the year as well that are all designed to help mums.
So what would be some of those services, Alli?
So some of the services that I do, the affordable business services, are just things like social media scheduling, writing posts and scheduling, or press releases, blog management, approaching retailers on behalf of mums with products to see if we can get their products into their stores. Really just all of those sorts of services that mums might need to help them succeed in business, but we do it at a more affordable price because obviously it can be quite pricey going to people sometimes. A press release normally would be $500 or $600, and we do it for 60. I just had to remember, what do we do it for then? Yeah.
Wow, so it's very multifaceted. So I wasn't aware that you did all of that. So you do that yourself, or do you actually have a team that specialise in the different areas?
No, well, because obviously I run a network of mums, I'm very lucky to be in touch with a lot of very talented and experienced and skilled mums. So I have my little crew around me that supports me and does some of the work for me, and then I'll do some of the work, but obviously I also manage it as well. It's too much for me to do all on my own now, in addition to everything else that I do.
Oh, I love it. So it's almost like a one-stop shop, which I don't like using the one-stop shop analogy, but one-stop shop for mums that are in business that want to put themselves out there and expose their brand.
It is, because I initially started with the events and business mums clubs, but, because my mission is to really help mums achieve their business dreams, I was providing them the events and they're getting lots of help and support there, but then they were still having to go off and pay people like hundreds of dollars to get help with social media or, get help with press releases. And myself, obviously being a mum in business, when I was starting out, I know that the funds are really limited, and I wanted to help mums with that side of their business as well. So it is multifaceted, but it all does, add towards achieving that vision.
So, Alli, what inspired you to start all of this? Is this from your own experience, or was it something else?
Oh, gosh, no, it's absolutely from my own experience. Initially, I actually trained as a life coach because I really realised very quickly in life that I did not want to be involved in the corporate world anymore. And I really didn't care about making someone else even more money. So then I thought helping people would probably be the way for me. So I trained as a life coach, and I actually graduated my coaching course at the same time as I had my first daughter. I went from, this was in London at the time, I went from working in a bar and being really social and travelling and everything to being at home on my own a lot, plus trying to run a business from home, which is also very isolating. And it was sort of then that I realised I actually wanted to help mums that were in the same situation as me. So that's how it came about.
So you started being a life coach, but then I guess your target market was mums.
Exactly. But even being a life coach and running a life coaching business from home, helping mums, is still really hard. So I actually thought to myself, okay, well, maybe I'll just develop a lunch or something like that and see if there's other mums out there like me who would like to get out and connect and engage with each other. And I got so many mums to that first lunch that I actually was like, oh, right, so this is where the business is. So that's when I sort of went more into the running of events for mums to give them the help. And then the coaching and mentoring that I do now obviously is a spin-off of meeting these women and then they'll ask me for help. Whereas before I was more running the events to try and get them into the coaching. Now I do it the other way around.
So you were saying that the events was really for women or mums to come forward for those that wanted to be a life coach, that you would be teaching them to be a life coach?
Oh, no. So what I decided was I'd run an event for mums in business so they could all get out of the houses as well and, get away from that isolation and loneliness of working on their own. So it was more just initially it was more just like a networking lunch with a speaker, and there'd be all mums from all different types of businesses in attendance. But then that's evolved even further now because I realised at those networking events and after going to other networking events that you can go to a networking event, you might hear a speaker. Sometimes they have good information, sometimes they don't. Sometimes it's quite general, so it's really hard to have it apply to you anyway. You hand out your cards to people, you go home, you write an email to them saying, so nice to meet you, and probably 5% of them would even respond back and say, it was nice to meet you too. I was kind of finding that I wasn't really getting a lot out of them. So after that experience, I actually then just changed my events slightly. So now that they're more of a monthly meeting for mums in business, I've got about 18 around Melbourne, one in Canberra, one in Sydney, one on the Central Coast. And now what the mums do is they actually come together every month. So it's actually encouraging that development of that support network, which you don't get at networking just by handing a card to someone and walking away. So you've got that monthly check-in, those people to cheer you on or give you a hug if you're crying. And instead of having guest speakers, people bring their challenges or problems to the table, and everyone as a group brainstorms and actually helps give them specific help and advice for their problems, which I think is way more effective than just hearing a guest speaker talking in general terms.
We used to do that. We used to have a mastermind group where we did exactly the same thing. We had other entrepreneurs and women in business where we used to collaborate and meet once a month and did the same thing. We'd actually just share about some of our problems that we were facing. And if we were stuck in our problem, we really couldn't find a solution. It was great to collaborate and come up with solutions together.
Exactly. And I just find that so much more effective than going and listening to speakers who are talking to a room in general. They can't actually give you specific help for your particular challenges. So that's why I developed the Business Mums Clubs in that way. And it's so funny. I actually had someone on the phone this morning literally saying to me they've never been to sort of a business event like it, and it's so supportive and so helpful. They really feel like, you know, it's their sort of place to fall if they need to.
So for our listeners, Alli, is there a cost for them if they wanted to join your mum's group?
Yeah, absolutely. So they can trial for $27.50, and I should say that everyone is actually welcome. It's not a Business Mums Club in that it's only for mums. It's a Business Mums Club in that it's set up to be helpful for mums. So it's at mum-friendly times because they can't make 7 a.m. breakfasts. It's at mum-friendly prices, and they can bring their kids if they need to, or their baby. They can breastfeed at the table, and they can still get on with their business as well as having their kids in tow. So that's how they work. So as long as other people, we have dads coming to some clubs, we have grandmas, we have people who don't have kids yet, as long as they're okay with, the fact that there might be a kid there making a bit of noise, then they're more than welcome. And then if they decide to join, it's 6 months. It's about $150, so it's $25 a session. And the sessions run for 2 hours, and that does include morning tea as well.
Oh, okay, so it's a physical event, not an online event.
It is a physical event, correct, yeah.
Oh, wonderful. But you mentioned there was one in another state, so they dial in to be part of the event?
No, so there's actually 18 clubs in Melbourne, so 18 different locations.
Right.
There's one in Canberra, so I have a host that runs the session in Canberra. I have one in Central Coast and one in Sydney, and they're all run at physical locations in those areas.
Oh, wonderful. That sounds wonderful.
Yeah, it's great. We're running my business for 11 years now, and I still go. I go to probably 8 a month, and I always walk away feeling motivated and reinvigorated and energized. It's such a great feeling.
Wow, you must do a lot of travel.
Yes, I do. Luckily for me, I love singing in the car more than anything in the world. So I actually look forward to getting in the car and driving for an hour because I can literally just sing my head off to music. So it's great.
I just love it. Absolutely love it. So what's the best part of your day?
Gosh. Everything. I actually, when you have those mums that are like, I just have to make sure the whole house is clean before I start work, or I just have to make sure the dishes are done, things like that. I'll get up, I'll organise the kids, take them to school, get home, sit at my computer and just work the whole day. Most of the time I'm like 2 o'clock and I'm like, I've got to eat lunch or whatever. If I don't have my kids, because I'm a single mum, so sometimes they might be with their dad, then I'll literally get up out of bed, make breakfast, sit at my computer and work the whole day and then be like, oh, God, I've got to have a shower. It's like 3 o'clock. So that's how much I love working and I love every part of my day. I'm happy to ignore all the housework, the shower, eating and everything just to work.
So you just go with the flow. You don't have a set sort of process on how you go through your day-to-day business. It's not like you might drop the kids off and then attend to the emails first thing in the morning and then make your calls and like what does your day look like? It sounds like you go with the flow.
I'm very much a go with the flow. But I can't really have a standard day because there are just so many different things that I do in my business. Like obviously I'll be answering emails, but then I might be writing talks because I do guest speaking. I might be talking to my associates about their clubs. I might be following up and organising my own clubs. I might be mentoring someone. There's so many infinite different things that I actually can be doing. But I do obviously plan it out. So when I open my day, I've got my list of things that I need to do and I'll be attacking each of them. But usually I'm probably working on about 10 different things at once.
Wow. So while you're building this fabulous business of yours, what has been some of the greatest lessons that you have learned along the way?
So I would say one of the greatest lessons that I've learned, and I do see this coming up a lot for people in business, is falling into that trap of thinking this is just such a great idea and people just so need this. They so need it. I just need to educate them on what it is, or I just need to convince them that they need it, okay? That unfortunately, that just doesn't work in business. You can't, if the demand isn't there or if the want isn't there, you can't convince people that they need it. Or you can't, if you're trying to educate people, gosh, how are you going to educate X number of individuals so that they understand that they want your product to buy it? It's a lot of hard work. And the reason I've had this lesson myself is because I actually used to run one-off events as well. So it might be like a day of social media. So I might be doing like an Instagram speaker and a Facebook speaker and a YouTube speaker. And I would have the hardest time selling tickets. It would just be exhausting. It would literally send me grey trying to sell tickets. But I kept having mums telling me that they wanted this and they wanted that and they want to know about social media and everything. But it didn't matter how I sort of changed this offering and tried to offer it in a different way. It just never worked. But I kept saying to myself, but they need it and they want it and they really, really want it. I know this is a great idea. But at the end of the day, I had to say, do you know what? Yes, I know that they want it and I know that they need it, but the proof is in the pudding. They're not booking, or not enough numbers that was, it was a good thing to do. So I had to let it go. And I do have other people, other mums saying to me that they're offering their service and it's like invaluable for parents and that they just need to educate them so that they understand that they need it or something like that. I'm like, it's really not a great place to be coming from with building a successful business because, gosh, what a lot of hard work. And at the end of the day, you like I said in the information I sent you, you can bring a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. So, yeah, I think definitely ascertaining that there's the want and need and that people are actually motivated to purchase it is a great one.
That's a really interesting want and need, because you've actually already done and received that from your tribe, that they want the information. You provide them with the information, but they do nothing with it.
No. And the problem with working with mums is that they're just so busy. They have so many things on already. Like they might be working, they might be having a client that day, their kids might be home that day. So I'm dealing with all of those challenges. But also mums don't put themselves first ever. So if something else is on, like they have to do something else with their kid or whatever, then they would most likely choose to do that, as opposed to just saying, oh, do you know what, I'll just get a sitter or I'll get someone to help me out with, and I'll go to this. They rarely choose themselves over their family and things like that. So that's where I had a lot of trouble as well. So, yeah.
Because sometimes I find that, there is a need and you go through it and they actually don't take that step. It could be fear that's getting in the way from them doing it themselves. And maybe it's more so that they're probably wanting somebody to hold their hand along the way. Do you find that that's something that your tribe gravitates to, where they do more of that one-on-one coaching so that you're there with them to take them through it, rather than doing an event or a webinar, whatever that may be?
No, I didn't find that it was fear. It was definitely the time factor and the fact that they're already busy and they've got loads of other things on. And that they don't place themselves first. Because these one-off events, I was at these one-off events and they were sitting in a room full of people and they were being taught. So there definitely wasn't that fear factor there. But I definitely agree with other businesses, there often will be. That could absolutely be the stumbling block.
So we always love to talk about pain points. Every business has a pain point. So, Ali, what would be your biggest pain points in your business that you deal with on a day-to-day?
Well, believe it or not, we've just discussed it.
Okay. So that
is literally that.
Okay. So it's not anything else like, for example, some people would say my biggest pain point is bookkeeping. So I outsource that. Or my biggest pain point would be, social media, for example. So I outsource that. So what would be one of your biggest pain points? Or, for example, I'm not really good at employing individuals. So I outsource that.
I get what you mean. So as opposed to an actual pain point for me, I can't stand writing newsletters. I find them just so boring. So I've set up the template and how things work and what needs to go in there and the type of content and the themes for each month and everything. And then I get my VA to write them and then I just edit them. And that's, you have seriously, every single month when I get that email in my inbox saying that newsletter's ready, I just feel the greatest sense of relief that I didn't have to write it. It's amazing.
Sure. And you said a VA, so you obviously have a virtual assistant overseas?
No, not overseas, in Australia.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So how about maybe talk us through that a little bit, because that's something we don't talk about often. How did you go about getting a VA?
Well, also, again, I'm really lucky because of my network. I know a lot of people. So I know a lot of VAs, a lot of come to my events and things like that, my clubs and things like that. So if anyone out there is wanting a recommendation for a VA, they can absolutely ask me. I'll be happy to send them in the direction of some excellent ones. I actually probably work with about, when I say virtual assistants, or I almost mean like virtual contractors, because some people that I work with write blogs and things like that. They might not necessarily call themselves a virtual assistant. But I probably work with about 5 or 6 or something like that. And I'm lucky enough to have found them through my network. And, it's just, I can highly recommend it because at the end of the day, you really do make more money. It's crazy. Like, people are so worried that if they take someone on, they're going to be paying them. That's pay coming out of the business. But I can honestly say every year that I've had assistants, I've always increased in revenue, not decreased at all, because they do the boring, annoying stuff that you don't want to do, or potentially that I wouldn't even do. Do you know what I mean? Like, how you've got those jobs that need to be done, but you just kind of avoid them and never do them. Well, they do those for me.
Oh, absolutely. I always talk about. Sorry,
I was going to say, and then I can be freed up to actually, be mentoring or guest speaking or things like that, where I'm actually going to make the money.
Yeah, exactly. I always say work with your strengths and outsource those things that you don't love doing. I'm not saying that you're not great at doing them, but you just don't love doing them, or they take too much time and you don't have the time. So I'm a big believer in outsourcing and delegating for sure.
Absolutely. And I do, obviously, because I work with mums in business, I do prefer to outsource in Australia because I want to support mums who are working from home and trying to make some money for their families. And I think it's a really nice thing to do.
Of course. And the reason why I was asking, because we have had some guest speakers who actually do get their virtual assistants and have them working from all over the world. So that's why I was curious to see how you went about.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I think, it's great to have overseas contractors if that works for you. But, I just prefer to keep it local.
No, I hear you loud and clear. So, Ali, what do you think is the number one reason that women fail to succeed in business?
Oh, geez, number one reason. Gosh, there's so many.
well, maybe the top 3.
I would say the first one would be that they're not realistic. The number of people that I have coming to my Business Mums Club and they've just launched their business and they're talking about how they want to be replacing their corporate income within a year. I know that they haven't really actually looked into what it takes to run a business. And the time it takes and the energy it takes and the amount of time it usually takes people to make money. So I do find that what will happen is that they will have had an idea, or maybe they're potentially just making something and then their friend asks for it and then they make more, and, that sort of a thing. And a lot of the time mums sort of just jump into business without really actually considering what it is to run a business and the realities of it. So I do tend to find that, not being realistic about it will often end up meaning that it ends in failure, because they're not looking at things like how to correctly cost whatever it is that they're offering. They're not thinking about, okay, well, I need to make this much money for my household, so what does that equal in numbers of this item sold? And then going, oh, actually, that's like $200 a month. Can I actually sell that? Do you know what I mean? Like just thinking about those sorts of things.
Yeah.
Another thing that sort of comes down to realities as well is that they don't really actually have any idea how much time they actually have. And so if you don't know exactly how much time you have, then it's all theoretical. And unfortunately, theoretically, you just keep thinking that you can keep doing more and more and more and more stuff in your head, when in actual fact you only have an hour that day. Yeah. And a lot of the time, they're struggling in business because they haven't looked at how much time they have. And when I get a lot of people to do a time audit, when they do a time audit, they say, do you know what, I've realised I've only got 2 hours a day to run this business. So what can they actually get done in 2 hours a day? Maybe not a lot, particularly if they're making a product or something like that. So I find that's a really big one as well, is just not looking at the amount of time they have and determining whether that's going to enable them to create what it is that they want to create.
Thank you for that. So, Alli, what's the best piece of advice that you have ever been given?
Do you know what? I was thinking about this. I am kind of one of those people that really just goes with what I think. I have this kind of weird, unshakable faith in myself. So to be honest, I actually can't remember any one piece of advice that I've been given that's been like that mind-blowing that I've just been like, wow, that's incredible and that's blown me away. And I don't really read business books. I don't have a business mentor myself, which I know other mentors will be like, oh, my God, a mentor needs to have a mentor. But I have a mastermind group that I like to bounce things off, but I don't really have a mentor. The only thing I can say is that I just trust my gut always, and I just check in with my gut and go with whatever my gut's telling me. So for me, the best piece of advice I've ever got is whatever my gut tells me.
And that's what you should be doing, because your gut is your guardian light, your unconscious mind. It's always there to guide you in the right direction and protect you. So you're doing a great thing, actually. Yeah,
I've just it's just how I've developed as a person. I'm just lucky enough to have sort of had that. So I haven't really gone outside of myself to actually ask anyone for help or advice or anything like that. And I'm quite happy with where I'm at and where I'm going. So I haven't really felt the need to. So yeah, not no amazing advice. But actually, one thing I will say is I have a favourite quote that I absolutely love, and that could, come as my piece of advice. And my favourite quote is, "Do not fear mistakes; there are none," and that's Miles Davis.
I love Miles Davis, and yeah. I love that quote as well. Thank you for sharing.
It's so good, and it kind of goes with the whole gut thing as well. Do you know
absolutely.
What I mean? Like, if you're not worried, if you actually look at the world like there's no mistakes to be made, it's just a different path, then it doesn't ever feel as scary.
And it's a different energy, isn't it? When you look at things as opportunities rather than problems,
yeah,
very different energy. And it gives you, when you look at it as an opportunity, it helps you move forward with it for sure.
Absolutely. And if you do make a decision but you're worried about making a mistake, it sort of closes you up, I feel. Instead of just leaving you sort of open to whatever is going to happen from that. Yeah.
So true. So, Alli, the other thing that we love to ask our woman of inspiration is to pick one word that best describes her personal brand. So what would be that one word for you?
What did I write? I'm just trying to think which one. I've got 5 brand keywords, but
one that really resonates with you.
I'm looking at them now because I have them pinned up on my pin board right in front of my computer always. It's probably welcoming.
Welcoming. Love that. Yeah. I could see that for sure. You're very friendly and welcoming.
Well, then it's working.
Yes, it is. So, Alli, the other thing we do as we wrap up the show, we always love to ask our woman of inspiration to leave our listeners with 3 shiny golden nuggets. So what would be those 3 shiny golden nuggets that you would like to leave for our listeners today?
So I'm actually looking at what I sent you, and I realised I only sent 2, not 3, so that was clever. So my first one is a lot of people just jump into business and they don't really think about it at all when they jump in. And a lot of times, like a year or so in, it can get very stressful, or people can be, depressed or anxious or whatever. And a lot of the time that actually goes back to the fact that when they started their business, they didn't actually write down their priorities and their reasons for starting a business. And that's personal and professional. And so what happens is because they haven't written those down, when their business is growing, it's just kind of growing however, and potentially it gets out of line with what you're actually trying to achieve for your business and your life. So, for instance, like I know a lot of mums who they start out in business because they want that flexibility of being able to be there for their kids, but then maybe the business takes off, or maybe it's just a lot of work and they're actually spending so much time on their business, they're actually neglecting their kids. And then they start to feel that, anxiety or guilt or whatever related to that. Whereas if they'd started out actually clear in their minds of what it is they want to achieve for their life and their business, then they could have built something that honours that. So if they haven't done it yet, do it and review it as well, because sometimes you might get 2 years in and be like, okay, I did start it for flexibility, but now we actually need to make some money. So flexibility is going to come down the priority scale. Money's going to go to the top. I'm going to honour that for a year or whatever until we get through. So, that I think it's a hugely important one. The next one is don't compare yourself to others. It's 90% their marketing and 10% you projecting onto them. So, obviously a lot of people fall into this trap, particularly with social media now. And, it's at the end of the day, it actually interests me, because I think a lot of the time we actually get caught up in this trap, but we don't even there's actually no reason to. It was really funny because at the end of last year, I was on the verge of signing a partnership that would have been amazing for me, amazing financially. And then at the last minute, they pulled out. And they actually went with my competitor. And I was like quite devastated actually for a few days. I even cried, and I never cry. But the way I pulled myself out of it is that I actually reminded myself of what it is that I want to achieve in my business. And what I want to achieve in my business is to help mums achieve their business dreams. And I actually realised I don't need that money to do that. I can do that with no money.
So true.
So it really helped me, and this comes back to the comparing yourself to others, it really helped me to remind myself that people can get sucked into comparing themselves to others, but at the end of the day, is that really actually even what you want for your business? Is that your dream? Do you want to be, this multi-millionaire with all these products on the shelves, or do you want to be this person who's this brand influencer on Instagram, or do you actually just want to save enough money for a holiday every year? So don't get sucked into it. And that sort of plays into my third one, which is you need to know what your definition of success is, and it doesn't matter how large or how small it actually is. Your definition of success could just be to earn $200 a week and be there, pick your kids up every day from school, and that is still success. Don't get sucked into society's idea of success, which is everyone apparently wants to be sleeping on a beach in Fiji, making money while they sleep.
So true. So true. And I love the comparing one. It's one that we talk about quite often. And it is, it's, I guess it's in regards to social media, with social media as well. You know, some women that I have spoken to is one of those things that they seem to invest so much time on social media, yet you hear a lot of experts talk about how it impacts your business when you compare yourself and you invest so much time and energy in social media when you should be focusing on other parts of your business where this is where your money's going to come into fruition rather than getting more numbers on, Instagram or Facebook.
Exactly. And the funny thing is someone can look so successful on Instagram because they do such a great job of it. But how is that actually converting? No one actually knows that except for the person that's doing it. And don't forget the other thing as well is that if you're getting distracted by what everyone else is doing, that's less time you're now spending on your business because you're spending time looking at theirs. And also, I've actually seen people who have made decisions based on comparing or competing with other people. They're not even making decisions for their business anymore. They're making it from a skewed point of view because they've been looking at someone else and what they're doing, and that's a dangerous place to be in because you're now no longer pursuing your own vision.
So true, so true. So, Alli, for our listeners, what's the best place for them to find you?
They can find me at motivatingmum.com. They can find me on Facebook at Motivating Mum Oz, OZ. They can find me on Instagram on Motivating Mum. They can find me on YouTube, Motivating Mum with an S on the end, Motivating Mums. And I'm on other channels, but that'll do.
Wow, that's a lot of platforms for sure.
Well, I have to, teach social media, so I need to be on it, don't I?
Of course. So, Alli, thank you so much for your time and energy. It's wonderful to finally get you on the show after I don't know how many months it's been that we've been going back and forth. So thank you so much, so very much.
No worries. Thank you so much for having me.
That brings us to the end of another episode. I hope you enjoyed the show, as it is my mission to reach out and inspire as many individuals like you. And one of the best ways to help us achieve this goal is by giving us a good review on iTunes. It's easy and it only takes about 10 seconds. If you have any questions or special guests that you would like to hear from, please send us an email to support@catherineplano.com.au and we will get right back to you. You can also follow us on Instagram, Twitter or Facebook at Catherine Plano. That's it for now. Thanks for listening. Until next week, please take care.